Yeah, I figured I'd come up today and let's talk about anger, okay? Anger. An emotion, okay? And it can really piss people off. You know, when you get angry, you get all pissed off, okay? There's a good thing about anger and there's a bad thing about anger. There really is. Because bad things about anger is most people when they're angry, don't matter what the gender is. This is something I always laugh about. Because the emotion itself doesn't matter what your gender is. When you're angry, a lot of times a person's emotions take over and they don't use their brain. Okay, and they don't think. They act off of that emotion. And it doesn't matter what gender you are. Okay, when it comes to anger and emotions, it's not a gender issue. We act out of them emotions that comes with that anger. Okay, but if we can learn to control ourselves a little better when we're angry and use our brains and think, we can do a lot of positive things out of anger. Okay, so an example would be somebody's coming in and stealing from you, or they're doing whatever. If you use your brains, you catch the perp, stop the perp, or you turn something around, like what's going on in society, and you stop the people who are doing what they're doing. You bring them to a stop, because out of anger. You know, and when I look at online and I look at what's really going on in today's society, and I look at the men's rights activist movement, and I look at MGTOW, men going their own way, okay? Out of the percentage of men going their own way, you have thousands and thousands of men that have been angered by the division from the programming, right? And how we're doing one another, our behaviors onto each other, okay? And these men, these thousands and thousands of men across this world that are angry and bitter and hateful towards their opposite gender, I stand with them on that anger because they have a right to be angry. And I know that a lot of people don't like hearing this. I know a lot of women really hate this, okay? How can you stand with them? They're angry. They're angry. They're angry. But they're angry for justified reason. Their reasons for anger are very justified. Very so. Okay? And to stand with them when they're angry is the right thing to do because they're not angry over foolishness. They're not angry over dumbness or stupidness. They're not angry at a glass of milk that was spilt, or somebody didn't change the toilet paper roll, or put the roll on the thing you wrong for you. You want it up and not down, or you want it down and not up. Bullshit stuff. See, that's what I call that type of anger, when you're angry at simple stuff like that. That's bullshit stuff, and you have a lot of growing up to do yet when it comes to your anger, because you're angered over something that's so minute it isn't even funny. Okay? Because somebody didn't think with your brain. They didn't feel the same way about something that you feel something about. They felt differently than you. Do you follow where I'm going with this? And so you're angry is because you disagree with the way they put the toilet paper on the thing. Or you disagree with the way they put their milk in the refrigerator. You disagree with the cookie. I mean, it's just that retardedness, okay? That is outright retardedness. But men going their own way, the MGTOW movement, these angry men that are across this world by the thousands, their anger is justified. You can say, well, how is that justified? It's justified by the behaviors of our society and the stuff that's been done onto them. The female gender created their problem and they created the problem through programming that was given to them by men. And then other men come along and disagree with the MGTOW movement, or disagree, and they fire and attack these people, making these men even further angered. Okay, I mean, when you get a guy that's broke his ass and did everything right according to society standards, what we've programmed people to believe, and they've done everything that anybody else ever did, and they're continuously rejected, or they've gotten married and been with this gal for a lot of years, and they love this person with all their heart, and they go to work and they do everything they're supposed to be the breadwinner, the provider, the taking care of. And then that woman turns around and criticizes them for being gone on the job all the time. But she wants that money to spend, but she don't use her head about if you don't go to work, you don't have that money. And so she gets tired of I'm alone every day because he's at work all the time, and she decides to go up behind his back and starts cheating. And then she dumps him. She files for a divorce. And then she uses the court system to take everything from him. And the court system stands by her and strips him of his home and strips him of all of his belongings and strips him of his children. And then she uses his children against him as a weapon to get more of that tool, more of that tool, more of that selfishness. And then she can't figure out why he would be angry, huh? Oh, but it would be still all his fault, right? Because we've created these double standards that told us that the woman's always right. The man's always wrong, regardless of what it is. Yeah, how many times have you heard that in society? The woman is always right. It doesn't matter. If it comes to the guy and it comes to the woman, the guy's always in the wrong and the girl's always in the right. That's another one of them double standards that was created by these people at the top that Jerry told you about. Okay, you know, like George Orwell, the Fabians, and so many other names, okay? But, see, do you get what's going on here? That was deliberately done. It was done to create friction, to create tension, to create anger. But see, and a positive side of the anger is, if we could just understand who's responsible for doing this to us, that's brought the behaviors on, and we as men and women both could get control of our anger and recognize where it comes from, we could do positive things with that anger, like getting together and going after the people who's done this to us and bringing them to a stop. Okay, but we're not going to do that, are we? No, because we're going to focus our anger on each other, ain't we? That's what we've been doing, and they love it. They can anger us up and we fire against each other. That's exactly what they want. What they don't want is a collective anger being fired at them. See, so they have to keep us divided, and they have to keep us fighting so that we don't stand together. Because if we stand together, then that anger would be turned at them, the ones responsible. And that is the one thing that scares the gajivas out of them. Because they know if that happened, it's over for them. And that's no lie. They know it's over for them. This is one of the reasons they work so hard on keeping us divided, so that we will never do that. MGTOW, actually, men going their own way, had the right concept. And I don't care what people say about it, it was the right concept. Sometimes you have to walk away from a bad situation and not be willing to give that bad situation anymore in order to get people to back up and think about what the hell's going on. Why is this happening? So that they stop and start using their heads. Okay, because the behaviors in society and all the double standards that's been created, you know, and I know women get angry when they hear guys say that they've been put on a pedestal, they get angered over that. Real quick and say, I've not been put on no pedestal and I'm not this and I'm not that. When in reality, all they have to do is open their eyes and really pay attention to what's going on And they would realize that they have been placed into a position that is very unfair. Very, very unfair. And that they have been placed on a pedestal. It's not that women ain't victims, because they are. We're all victims of this. But unfortunately, it's just like anything else that comes to power and greed, people don't get enough of it. They just don't get enough of power and greed. That is the virus that attacked the human brain. That is total corruption. Because you don't get enough greed, you want more, more, more. You don't get enough power, you want more, more, more. And you don't ever want to lose that power, you don't ever want to lose that greed over the top of somebody else. So we end up in this competition against each other. To one up, to shit, to dump, to hurt another person and not care. And not have no care. This is why accountability is so important on both sides. But we don't get accountability on both sides. No, we don't. That's been skewed too. That the accountability is being pushed onto the man. And the woman's being, well, in the majority of cases, the woman's getting a slap in the hand. She's not being made accountable. She can divorce you, walk into a courtroom with the no-fault divorce. She can perjure herself and lie and not be held accountable for her actions whatsoever. She can rape that guy out of all of his belongings and his children. She can use his children against him as a weapon, turn his children against him and paint him out to the monster and the villain, and have no accountability for it. And then wonder why there'd be so many angry men. Okay, and then blame the man because he's angry because you've done all this to him. But if we turn this system around that's been created by these people and the roles was reversed, the women would be very, very angry and they would be justified to be angry. Do you follow what I'm saying? But the positive things about this anger would be when MGTOW was created, that was a really great idea. Now, of course, the powers to be, the people at the top, couldn't allow that to happen. So they had to infiltrate MGTOW and skew that too. That's right. So that people would think men going their own ways, you still go out in the dating scene, and you still play games with each other to put your dick in a hole. Which puts you right back in the same paradigm, the same problem you had before MGTOW come along, which means MGTOW became corrupt because of infiltration. Because that was actually the right thing to do. And I know there's a lot of people that get angry when I say this, but the truth is this. When MGTOW come along, the idea was men going their own way to walk away from women. Not to get married no more, don't date no more, don't give the women a time of day. Don't hit on women no more, reject women on a regular basis, and live your own life happily and free, minus a woman. And yes, this is going along with the globalist population reduction. But this wouldn't have to stay this way forever. If enough men did this, women would suddenly find themselves not being hit on no more. They would find themselves not able to get a date. That no guy would give them the time of day. And they would become infuriated, lonely, and hurt, and upset, and wonder why. But it would cause them to back up and think. Do you follow what I'm saying? It's no different than the guy who treats the woman like dirt. It's the same thing. When the guys are out there shitting all over the women and cheating on the women and treating them like complete dirt and disrespecting them, the women should walk away from them. But, you know, it's the same thing in reverse. Don't give them the time of day. Make them think about what they're doing. But that's not how society's been constructed. No, not at all. We've constructed it so fucked up. These people at the top have messed things up so bad that most people's idea of a date in today's society is all based on materialistic items, image, looks, that's right, usury, that's right, complete usury, Everything that goes nowhere, everything that destroys, anything that could destroy a relationship, that destroys two people, that breaks down the family structure, is what it's based on. And all you got to do is use your head about that. You've taken all the foundations that created a strong family unit, and you've skewed it, twisted it, manipulated it, turned it upside down on its head, and then you can't figure out why the divorce rate was where it's at, why the domestic violence where it's at, and you can't figure out why we're all messed up. It's so in your face. This is where anger's a good thing. See, anger has a positive side to it. If you can use your anger and control your emotions and use your brain with your anger, then you could stand together to rise up and stop these people. And that's no lie. So that's why I wanted to talk about anger today. A little bit in this video, because anger is important. It's important for people to get angry. But what do we see in today's society when it comes to anger? Oh, love and light. That's right. Ignore it. Blow it off. Forgive them. Don't be angry. Okay? Don't express your anger. Don't show your anger. Because you're not going to be taken seriously if you're angry. Nobody's going to listen to you if you're angry. Because they don't like anger. What does that do for the elite? For the people at the top? That works out great. It really does. It works out great for them. Because when you go with that attitude, and I don't want to hear an angry person. I don't want to blah, blah, blah. They're not credible when they're angry. Because you're not willing to listen to them because they're angry. You've fallen right into the trap. You might as well be right there with Oli now on Love and Light. While we preach fear porn on his website. And then our live podcast will give you Love and Light. You're in that paradigm regardless of you think you are or you ain't. Because an angry person can do a video and they're angry in the video, and you say the message isn't no good because it's out of anger. Because that's out of anger. And even if they tell the 100% concrete truth of what's going on, but because it's out of anger, you don't want to hear it. That anger just messed it all up. We don't want angry. We don't want angry. We don't want angry. No, you want love and light. That's really what you're saying you want is love and light. Okay? It's no different than excusing somebody's behaviors. If somebody goes off the deep end every 2 or 3 months and attacks people who's never done nothing to them, okay, based on something they say or something they feel, based on something trivial, or that person maybe got angry and they do a video and their anger comes out in the video, but they never attack that person themselves. Their anger is over the issue that they talked about, but you discredit everything they talked about because they were angry, okay? But then this person over here that watched it becomes angry because you were angry, and then they attack you and you never talked about them, never called them out, never refuted them. They wasn't even part of what the topic was about that you're angry about, but because they didn't like your anger in that video, their anger, and now they attack you out of their anger towards you because they seen you as angry. Where's the irony in that? How could you ever get angry? How could men and women ever be angered at the people who's done this to us and use that anger to stand together and attack our real enemies? We can't, because you're offended by anger. That's right. You don't want to listen to somebody as angry. You're so offended by their anger that their message went out the door because you don't care about their message no more because all you seen was anger, anger, anger. That's all you could see was anger. And so that skewed the message. You wasn't able to see through to the message because you didn't like that anger. They had to calm down, love and light first. They had to love and light first. There you go. How could we ever use the anger in a positive way to stop these people then? We couldn't. Because you've even screwed that up. Do you follow what I'm saying? And for that person who would attack that person because they're angry, for being angry, you can just go with the people at the top and tell them, thank you, wonderful job, I'm with you. I sit right next to you, I'm on your side, let's destroy this world. And I know you're not going to agree with when I'm saying that to you sarcastically, but that's really what you're doing. That is really what you're doing. Because anger can be a good thing. Because somebody's angered, did you ever stop to think about their anger as just if they've got justified reason to be angry? And that anger comes out in their video, and it's a justified reason. You listen to the reasoning for why they're angry through their anger, and you recognize this is what angered them, then you get a message out of that. But if all you hear now, even though they told you truth, was the anger part bothers you so much that it skewed their words to you, then technically you're the one with the issue. Because you could never be angry and stand together and in a positive way use that anger to go after the people who's done this to you, because you first gotta love and light. You gotta calm down. And of course, once you've calmed down, you're not gonna have the anger that's gonna drive you to go after them people, because you've deflated the very tool that could have caused an uprising. Do you follow what I'm saying? So as the pressure built up that would have caused people to uprise, you stuck a needle in that and let all the pressure out. Now nobody stands up. Love and light. You know, I was just thinking about this, and I'm thinking, yeah. And I'm looking around me, and I'm seeing this, and I'm realizing where they've really buffaloed all of us. All of us. How they've done this. Because, see, for the person who would attack a person that's done nothing to them at all, only because they didn't like the anger that they represented in a video, and couldn't get the message out of that because the anger's got in the way, okay? And then you attack that person because they were angry out of your anger, okay? How is that justified? You're attacking the wrong person. Why didn't you take that anger constructively and attack the people who've done this to us? Why didn't you take their message out of anger and get their message, even with the anger there, and then when you got angry, you think about their message and you got angry at the same people they got angry at? Because, see, if it's like dating scene topics and that person's angry, their anger is going to be directed at the symptom, the problem, the behavior, right? And that's why she might be angered at him. But if we could understand who conditioned her behavior and his behavior, our behavior, him and her, both genders, and we could understand that first, who's conditioned us to think this way and to act this way, then when she's seen that anger, and it was that topic, or he's seen that anger out of her, and it was that topic, they would recognize the behavior patterns, where them behavior patterns come from, and they wouldn't be angry at each other no more. They would be angry at the people who created our behaviors onto each other. There's an old saying, do unto one as you want done unto yourself. And that saying is probably one of the best sayings that's ever been said. Why is that, you would ask? Because when you do onto somebody that you want done onto yourself, you would, not one woman, and not one man would want this type of behavior done onto them in reality. Now you're going to say, well, that's not true, because in the dating scene, the bad boy, he criticizes the woman, he puts the woman down, he cuts the woman down, he treats her like dirt, and she likes that. That turns her on, and that's why he's the bad boy, and that's how come she's with him. And then I look deeper into it and watch that relationship develop and watch it disintegrate. Watch the next one develop and watch it disintegrate. Watch the next one develop and watch it disintegrate. And why did it disintegrate? Because what did I say earlier? Because when you have to treat her like dirt to get her to like you, you've already destroyed the foundation of any kind of relationship that could ever be. That's not going to last, and it can't last. You're going on a phony image. You're going on the programming that's been given to us by the people at the top. So you're acting on that behavior again. Do you follow what I'm saying? That's why it's important to recognize who's done this, what was the reason for doing it, and where these patterns of behavior that are in men and women came from, that we're behaving. And then recognize right from wrong, what you would really truly want done onto you, okay? How you really truly want to be treated. And it can never be the opposite of what you want to be treated. If the opposite turns you on, it's nothing more than a fantasy, an image. It's not a reality. So when the bad boy is treating a woman like shit, and that's why he gets the girl, she's going by that fantasy. That's what she's going by. Okay? The image of the fantasy. The what's in. That this is blah blah. But in reality, even though that's the guy she's picking, she don't like that behavior. That's why when you talk to women, they think, well, their job is to change him. No, your job's not to change anybody. It's not the man's job to change her, and it's not her job to change him. You are supposed to like each other for who each other already is. But that's been skewed. Do you follow what I'm saying? It's been screwed up. What do you think I told you? The foundation that brought the two genders together, that created that family structure, has been completely destroyed. Because it has. Because when you observe the bad boys, they may be getting lots of sex, but that's all they're getting is sex. And lots of drama. And drama. And what's drama? Our ability to dump on one another. And so we dump on one another and hurt one another over and over and over. And then we don't take our anger from hurting one another. What do? We direct our anger back at each other, right? Continuing that anger at each other, when all we'd have to do is understand where our behaviors came from. Is the social conditioning, the programming that these people have done to us. That we are their victims, men and women alike. Do you follow where I'm going? I really hope you do. This is why I think it's so important that when somebody does a video and they're angry, you got to get over this shit if they destroyed the video because of the anger. You need to listen to what made them angry and forget the fact that they're angry. And recognize when you do this, what you're going to see is the pattern. You're going to see the behaviors, the injustice that's been done onto this person. And then you're going to recognize, okay, well, she done this and this and this, but where did she get that from? That behavior that's making her do this. She got that from the very same people that programmed you. And she's acting on that behavior from that programming. Who gave that programming to her? Do you follow where I'm going here? You got to go up the chain to the person responsible for giving him that programming, that behavior. Because, see, power and greed has no end. It absolutely corrupts. And because we're in a selfish society full of selfish people, okay, and everybody's out about number one, what do you think it's going to be? If she can use that court system to get the kids in the house and the cars and the money from you, she'll do it in a heartbeat. If we flip the roles around and you could use that court system to get the money in the house and the cars from her, you'd do it in a heartbeat, wouldn't you guys? That's right. See, human nature. Because we're all about number one, ain't we? That's right. Because we've lost our ability to care. Isn't that correct? Because we don't actually really care. What we care about is our selfish selves and our immediate person is right there. And that's it. Nobody else. Nobody else do we care about. Do you see? They've corrupted us completely. Completely. So, to me, it's like this, I guess. First off, let's get over being mad at somebody for being angry. And let's listen to the message they're giving through their anger. When we do this, we're going to see the patterns. We're going to see actually what angered them. Let's look around and see if what they're angry about in society is really going on. Open your eyes and look and don't deny what you see. When you see it's actually really going on, then put yourself in their shoes for a moment to think about if this was happening to you, how would you feel? And you're going to realize you'd be angry. That's right. Then let's look at why are they acting this way? Where did that behavior come from that's making them do this? Then you're going to wind up right there where Jerry told you. And then when you recognize that, then your anger should be turned. And it should be directed at them, not each other. See, the women don't belong mad at the men. The men don't belong mad at the women. We don't belong attacking each other out of our anger. Well, she done this and this and this. But she done this and this based out of what? And where did she get that behavior? That pattern? So there you go. Them names again. There you go. There's them names. The Fabians, the George Orwells. There you go. Right there again in your face. Do you follow it? Okay? See, that's why the anger needs to be shifted. It has to be shifted to the root of the problem, not the symptom. The symptom is the behaviors that we all represent from the programming that they've given to us. Because you know no different, because this is all you've been taught your whole life. You've been lied and taught and pushed. This has been put onto you, and you had no say-so at all. I had no say-so. She had no say-so. None of us had any say-so. We didn't have a choice. Our choices was taken from us by these people. I hope that you understand what I'm saying here. So, am I still on MGTOW's side? Men going their own way? Of course I am. Because sometimes it's going to take something as drastic as men walking away from women and not giving them the time of day, not hitting on them no more, not dating. You say, well, I need sex. You got to get your priorities right. Sex is just what it is sex, and you got mother thumb and her 4 offsprings. And you got a good imagination, you can get by a while without her. You sure can. And why do I say that? Because you have to find a way to get her to think about her behaviors. She has to find a way to get you to think about your behaviors. Then when you recognize the behaviors, you need to find out, why are we behaving this way? Why are we treating each other this way? And when you do that, you're going to wind up going to these names that Jerry's been telling you. That's why. Then you can direct that anger back where it belongs. Then men and women could come back together again, and you could have a strong family unit again, and you could do away with men going their own way. The men's rights movement could be abolished. Feminism could be abolished. We could get rid of all of that. But we're never going to get rid of all that unless we recognize where our anger comes from, why we act the way we act, and recognize in our behavior patterns that anger angers us has been given to us by these people. It's all programming. So they've programmed us into this, and right now it's a situation where if I speak up in anger in a video, my message is skewed because you can't get past the anger. And you'll want to say I'm a woman hater on this, and regardless of what I say, that means I'm a woman hater because I said this stuff in anger. Okay? And in reality, you missed it, and you said, but you missed it because of the anger. So I had to calm down to present a good video to you. But now that I've calmed down, I've deflated the pressure. And if we're ever going to have an uprising, we need to have major pressure build up, until people turn. And then we need to take that pressure and that explosion, and we need to turn it back onto the people who've done this to us. And if we could do that, then we would actually have a real uprising. But if we keep deflating the pressure and not let the pressure build up, then we'll never have the explosion that'll cause the uprise. Won't happen. And that is the one thing that scares the kajivas out of them. But before we can let that pressure build too big to do anything, or if we do it the wrong way, then what's going to happen is this. The pressure's going to build up, it's going to explode, and we're going to be going at each other, men and women. She'll be shooting him and killing him, or stabbing him, or throwing hot grease in his face, or doing whatever to him. Domestic violence. Do you follow what I'm saying? Or he'll be punching her and hitting her. Do you see what I'm saying? Domestic violence. Do you see what's happening here? The pressure built up and it went to domestic violence on each other. They don't mind that at all. So it's important to understand the patterns. Where did the behavior come from? Why is she acting this way? Why is he acting this way? Why is she treating him like this? Why is he treating her like this? Where did these behavior patterns come from? Recognize do unto one as one does unto you. You want to do unto somebody else what you expect done unto you. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes for a minute. Forget about the anger. Okay? Recognize these things, then recognize what Jerry's been telling you, and find the root cause. If you can do this, I know this is a lot, but if you can do this, then see that anger from the MGTOW men or from men's right activists when they come up and they're speaking out and they're angry about what's happened to them from the patterns, and you recognize this, then you'll recognize this is the behavior that these people up here. See? This is the behavior these people up here. The Fabians, the George Orwells. This is what they told us to do. This is what they programmed us to do. We're firing off at each other. We don't want to fire off at each other. What we want to do is fire at them. And we need to have anger, and we need to let that anger build and the pressure build, but we can't do it before we understand where the problem comes from. This way, when the pressure builds up and we explode, we get the uprising and we go after the right people. Right now what's happening is the pressure's building up, we explode and we go off on each other. And we get offended by somebody's anger, and we don't listen to their message because they're angry. And because they're angry, we didn't listen to their message because we'd rather have love and light. Because we can't handle anger because we need love and light. So we've deflated any pressure so there'll be no anger. So therefore we would never have enough anger to build enough pressure to ever uprise against these people to begin with. I guess that's what I'm trying to tell you. We need anger. Anger is actually very important. And you can't get offended by somebody's anger and not listen to their message. Because if you're going to be offended by their anger, and you're going to skew their words because the message comes out wrong because all I hear is the anger. All I see is anger. Do you follow what I'm saying? That's all I see is the anger, and it angers me. And if that's all you see, and you need that anger to go away, there'll never be an uprising. Never. Because you can only get an uprising when people get angry about the same thing. Then out of that anger, they will rise up to stop what's going on. But we have to get it directed the right direction. So we need to have the anger. Do you understand what I'm saying? You need to be able to watch a video of somebody angry and not be angry at that person for being angry. When you can do that, then you'll recognize what they were angry about. Then you think about what they were angered about, whether it's a her or a he, doesn't matter the gender. Then you think about what they were angered about, you'll start seeing the patterns. And the patterns are from the behaviors. Then you look into where the behaviors come from, and lo and behold, if we didn't go up to the George Orwells and the Fabians and the... Now we know who's behind causing the behaviors that's causing us to anger one another, right? So then we can build that pressure up. And we can go off, blow up, rise up, and go against the people who's done this to us. It's just an idea, but I thought I'd throw that out there. Anyhow, no, I'm not angry, okay? I just want to talk about anger, okay? But that's about what my message was. Yes, to the next video. You have a good one.